RE2, we are back talking some FF7. Today was the Nintendo Direct, and we did indeed get a trailer for 7 Remake Intergrade, coming to Switch 2, and also Xbox, and we got a release date with that trailer. Also, alongside the trailer, they put out a new blog on the SQEX website, and within that, they confirmed that the rest of the Remake games, including Part 3, of course, are going to come to Switch and Xbox at a later point. It's not necessarily news, but it's nice that they would actually address it. So yeah, the release date is going to be January 22nd, 2026, so we do have to wait till the beginning of next year. We've had this winter release window for quite a while now. We're kind of hoping for maybe sometime in December, but we do have to wait till January. And as we had discussed a couple years ago with the Crisis Core Reunion, this winter release window, like the winter time frame is from December to like February or March of the next year. So there was kind of a decent window of when the game could have come out, but we're getting it in January. Also, with this release date announced trailer, there is some like pre-purchase and like platform-specific bonuses that you get at the end of the trailer. So this is the first one. Digital Limited Early Purchase Edition includes the original Final Fantasy VII until January 31st, 2026. I will say it's a little bit confusing just because it says like it's an early purchase bonus, but it also says that it goes until the end of January. But the game's coming out before the end of January, right? Like Remake Intergrade, it's coming out on January 22nd. So it's not really like an early purchase bonus. I don't know. It does say with the text at the bottom with the asterisk, if you pre-order Remake Intergrade, you can immediately play FF7 on whatever platform that is. That's kind of cool, right? Some incentive to pre-order the game. And maybe if you already own like FF7 Original on like Xbox but not Switch, that could incentivize you to buy it for the Switch, or vice versa, right? Maybe you already own FF7 on Switch but you don't own it on Xbox, so maybe that's a platform you decide to like pre-order Intergrade for. I will say, based on what we're going to talk about next, that it's probably better to buy the game for Switch though. Because if you do buy a physical copy on Switch 2, it comes with a Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy pack inside, which is just fucking awesome. Kind of reminds me a bit of like back in the day buying like Yu-Gi-Oh games for like I think like PS1, PS2, like Game Boy Advance and stuff. They would come with like exclusive cards in like the game case, right? Like you could only get it from buying this game. It's obviously a little bit different, but still, it's kind of cool that you can buy a fucking video game and get a pack of cards. And some of those Final Fantasy Magic the Gathering cards are pretty damn expensive if you pull the right one, the right rarity, right? So, like, you could buy this game for, was it like 50, 60 bucks or whatever, and then, like, pull, like, a couple $1,000 card, potentially. They do also specify that it is limited, of course. They can't just give you these Magic the Gathering packs forever. So, it is, like, I think the first run of this game for Switch 2 is what's going to have the packs in it. We also got some new art, I guess you'd call it, for this release date announcement. That's pretty damn cool. It's, concept art, of course, but it just looks awesome. Something about it, I don't know. And speaking of the new art, they do show it as a reversible cover, at least for the Switch 2. I assume it's maybe also available for like a physical Xbox version, but they don't address it anywhere, like on like the blog post or anything, so I'm not entirely sure if this is like a Switch exclusive thing or not. I don't know. But it's actually also not where the info ends when it comes to this, I guess, technically kind of newer version of 7 Remake Intergrade, because they announced the streamlined progression, which pretty much lets you play the game where you just can't die, so you can just kind of focus on the story. The blog post gives us the full details on this. It says 7 Remake Intergrade is not only coming to new platforms, it has new streamlined progression feature that tweaks various aspects of the game so that every player can enjoy this brilliant story. The progression features include HP is always full, your HP is at maximum value at all times, even when hit by an enemy, your HP won't go down, instant death is also removed, sorry Tonberries. MP is always full, your MP is always at its maximum value, sling out spells with wild abandon. Limit gauge is always full. The limit gauge is at maximum when you enter battle, and using powerful limit breaks won't deplete it. ATB gauge is always full. Your ATB gauge is always maxed out, so you can unleash abilities as much as you want without restriction. Damage dealt is always 9,999. With this set on, you'll do maximum damage with every attack. No boss can stand against you. They do also add, please note that some of these features may not be applicable in certain situations. I'm not entirely sure what that'd be outside of maybe like hard mode you can't use this, and or like the super boss fights, which are also in hard mode. And they say these functions can be toggled on and off individually as wanted, or ignored altogether if you want to experience the challenge of the original game. I personally love these enhancements, because for one, the game's kind of old, right? Remake is over 5 years old, Intergrade's over 4 years old at this point. Also, it kind of reminds me of like the modern ports of older Final Fantasy games that have the enhancements, like increased speed, invincibility, things like that, right? And I do like that you can turn them on and off individually, right? So you can use one of them, two of them, none of them, whatever. Actually, I just realized that the blog post doesn't have all the details because their tweet about the streamlined progression mentions that you have max items at all times, with some exceptions, but I don't know what that would be. I think kind of in general, it's just like a nice quality of life thing for Remake, right? Just like these kind of cool features, turn on like max stats and everything, just like destroy everything in the fights. They do mention that they added it to the game for people that just want to like focus on the story. You can already do that with like easy mode, right? Like obviously normal and like hard mode have a level of challenge to them, especially hard mode, of course. But like if you put the game on easy, like it is not even remotely a challenge. Even if you're bad at action RPGs, like unless you're just god awful, I guess. Like easy is very, very easy. But still, I think it's kind of like a nice addition to Remake, and it's something that I do hope they add to like the PS5 version and PC or whatever. I guess with PC, there's mods, so you can kind of do anything. But like for at least the PS5 version, it'd be nice for them to add this to Intergrade. Also, I guess for Rebirth too, it'd be kind of nice to be able to like go through that game again, because you can already like get max stats and shit, and then like chapter select back to the beginning, put it on easy, and just kind of walk through the game if you wanted to. But it'd be kind of cool to have this feature where you can like just spam limit breaks all the time and abilities and magic all the time. Can't actually still technically do that with even just the base game of Rebirth, just because of like MP absorb materia. If you're hitting like multiple enemies with a spell, like you do get a bunch back on that where you can pretty much infinitely cast magic. But you get my point. Also going back to like these enhancement things, I just like these options in games, kind of like what they added in Final Fantasy 16 with like those accessories that made the game like a hell of a lot easier. Like, why not, dude? I'd totally be down for like Remake Part 3 launching with these kinds of features. I'm not going to use them. I have no interest in using them because I do enjoy the combats of Remake and like some of the harder fights, even when they're frustrating as fuck, especially in hard mode. Like, even though I get fucking pissed off a lot of times, like the joy of overcoming like those harder fights or hard boss in general, I like that shit. It's pretty rewarding for me. So like I wouldn't use these, but there's a lot of people that would love to like experience the story of like Remake Part 3 that don't really care to get super into the combat, right? So like if they want to like launch Part 3 with this kind of thing, super down for it. I could see myself using these kinds of enhancements on like a third or fourth playthrough or something, right? Where I just maybe want to go through the story again, but just turn on all of these features where you're just super overpowered, you can't even fucking die, and just spamming all kinds of crazy attacks at the enemies all the time. Like, it could be fun. As for the Rebirth and Part 3 stuff we mentioned towards the beginning of the video, they say, another common question about the game is whether the entire Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy is coming to Switch 2 and Xbox. We can confirm that yes, they are. We'll have more information about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and the in-development third game in the future. So what's kind of interesting about this is that the rumor that we had from Nate the Hate is that Rebirth would be coming to Xbox and Switch 2 next year, and then now we know that Remake is coming to those platforms also next year. So there's a good chance if you're on Switch 2 or Xbox exclusively or whatever, or you just enjoy those platforms, like you're going to be able to maybe experience Remake and Rebirth within the same year, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, again, it's not really news technically, just because like obviously those games are coming to those platforms eventually. They're not just going to put Remake Part 1 on fucking Xbox and Switch 2 and that's it. Like clearly the second game and the third game are going to reach those platforms at some point. But again, kind of nice that they confirmed it. They did also address this a bit with the tweet from earlier where they say that's not all. The Remake trilogy will also be making its way to Switch 2, Xbox Series X and S, and Xbox on PC, as well as PlayStation 5, Steam, and Epic Game Store. So that's them talking about the trilogy as a whole coming to all of these platforms, which does make me, kind of wonder about Part 3 a little bit. Because with that, they're talking about the entire trilogy coming to all these platforms now, instead of, the usual, like, push and exclusive thing. So there is the possibility, maybe, that Part 3 could, launch on other platforms. We'll see. I still think that years ago it was set in stone that whatever the remake project was going to be, 3 games, 4 games, doesn't matter, was PlayStation exclusive. But things could have changed. Maybe, I don't know. It would for sure be the best thing for them to do for Part 3. So I had to come back and add this to the video as I was finishing up here because Hamaguchi might have just confirmed that Part 3 might be multi-plat. He says, the 7 Remake series will be expanding to major platforms moving forward. PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, Nintendo Switch 2, and the PC will commit to make sure players can enjoy each part in a way that suits their lifestyle. As we approach the final part, I'm truly grateful that more people will have the opportunity to experience the world we poured our hearts into. How about you guys? But that to me sounds like multi-platform for Part 3, right? He talks about, moving forward, the remake games are going to be on the major platforms and talks about more people being able to experience the worlds that they poured their hearts into, right? So, I don't know. Maybe we might need like some hard confirmation somewhere else, but that at least right now sounds like that. Yeah, that'll pretty much be the video, my dudes. We finally have a release date for Remake Intergrade for Xbox and Switch 2. But it's nice that we didn't just get a release date, that there's actually like something else to talk about, this like streamlined progression thing they're adding to the game. And then also them just kind of like publicly talking about the Remake trilogy coming to other platforms as well. So hopefully we'll get an update relatively soon for like Rebirth. I know they're probably not going to maybe talk about it until after Remake comes out for those platforms. But also hopefully something very soon for Part 3. Either way, that's the video, my dudes. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Search in the description below. Follow me on Twitter, @DavidYT. That's it. Bye.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more, and nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Low Gain or leave it like Cobain.